Greetings fellow captains and welcome back to another episode of World of Warships, and today we're going to look at armor piercing penetration and how to overall improve your gameplay. So we're looking here and we're looking at the armor penetrating values of the Atlanta. And so why do you not get those values every time you hit a ship? And when to aim, how to pick targets. It's all really important. Obviously, we all know, we're all pretty accustomed to the fact that high explosive, as long as you hit the ship, you're going to do some form of damage. Not as much as armor piercing, but there's, you've got to hit the superstructure for a chance of fires. And if you want a bit more of an in-depth video looking into high explosive values, how to hit targets, where to hit targets, values of damage, then let me know in the comments, and quite possibly we'll do something along those lines in the near future. I'll be honest with you, this game, this video has taken me quite a long time to piece together, and it's taken quite a bit of work. So I really hope you guys appreciate it, and a thumbs up, a comment, even a subscribe will go a long way to me continuing to do this kind of in-depth and detailed video. So I'm using the Arizona just because the Arizona overreacts almost with how it fires. When you fire at long range, it has an incredibly high arc, and when you fire at close range, it basically looks a little bit like a laser going off. So we are going to fire HE here at the start, and you will see a difference. Basically, when any shells penetrate, they do more damage. HE shells, if they just splash, as you can see, we're doing about half the value of the damage. When we're getting penetrations, we're getting a lot more. We're getting 1,400 to 2,000. So we're now shooting at a cruiser. We're switching to, we will be switching to armor piercing. Hopefully, as you can see, the HE doesn't do that much damage, but it's fairly consistent. So we fire away. Okay, we missed that salvo. I'm doing this in these videos in random battles. So we had every single shot bounced. Only a couple of penetrations. What went on? What's changing? What's the difference? All of a sudden we get a massive citadels. So this is all about angle values. Now ships have an auto bounce value of okay, they do vary from ship to ship, but the general idea is 30%. If your shell's at a 30% angle to the ship, it doesn't matter where it's going to hit it, 30% or less, it's just going to bounce off, which is what we've seen us doing to that last cruiser. And as you can see, we penetrate, we damage weapons, but we don't actually, we struggle a lot to score hits. These are all penetrations through the superstructure. And as you can see, as that angle increases, we start getting more hits. So 35 to 45, there's only a chance to ricochet. And then, as soon as we get to that 45 to 90 degrees of it hitting its target, besides the fact that we're getting shatters because our shells are so small, they're not big enough to penetrate the Miyoko. I'm guessing we're hitting the Citadel, which is why they're not penetrating. There we go, get close range, we get that nice 90 degrees to target, and we start absolutely hammering the Citadels in. So yeah, so essentially the way you've got to look at it is, alright, that cruiser may have only had 25mm of armour, but as the angles increase, the armour thicknesses increase. So it's a bit of trigonometry involved in that, and if, like me, you can't be bothered with all that noise and trying to do advanced calculations in the middle of a battle, it's not so much something that you don't need to know. You just need to be aware of what exactly is going on when you're firing ships. You know, why are your shells bouncing? You know, if someone's at an angle to you, don't waste your rounds, particularly when you're in battleships. And you've got that long reload. You know, it's just not worth it if you are going to automatically bounce a target bow tanking or a target that's angled very well to you. It'll also help you knowing that these auto bounce angles exist, because when you're getting shot at, you know, you want to turn your ship, you want to protect your ship, you want to keep yourself angled so you take less damage. A couple of overpens through the superstructure is nothing compared to one or more citadels. So we are going to go into detail a bit more in depth, but we're going to see how this plans out, and you know, we've been keeping an eye on all our bounces. So what we've established is, if we're flat on, if we're hitting a cruiser 90 degrees with the Atlanta's little what are they, 125 or 150 millimeter guns, feel free to remind me in the comments. It's been a long day. So basically what we want to do is we want to see, right, okay, so we can penetrate cruisers. Let's see what happens when we try doing the same to a battleship. And this Gun Eisenhower is heading our way, and he should be giving us some, well, hopefully we're going to put ourselves in a position where he gives us good angles. Right, so that's in the 30-45 degree range, and we got a lot of bounces and shatters. Every single one of them, auto bounce, auto ricochet, we're at that angle, auto ricochet. Probably still at an auto ricochet angle. Yes, we are still. Now we should be getting into penetration. Now we did get one penetration, but I think that bounced up through the superstructure, and now all of our shells are just getting non-penetrations, while our guns just quite simply aren't big enough to penetrate it. So that is something you need to be aware of. So what we're going to do in this one, we're going to slow down time a little bit and follow the shells so we can see what's going on. So as you can see, this is an Atlanta. It's over exaggerating. Our shells go up, they stay high for quite a long time, and as you'll see, it'll start dropping off faster and faster and faster. So we're probably hitting the that ship at about a 60 degree angle. So if our shells aren't big enough, exactly what's going to happen is we're going to bounce. So we're going to do the same here. We've again, I've silenced the gameplay sounds, because we get a load of bounces, and listening to this game in half speed is painful. But don't worry, it's an Atlanta. It will not take us long, even at half speed, to fire our guns off. So as you can see, he's quite well angled. We got one over penetration because that went through the superstructure, and that was about it. And then as we start to get more to that 45 degree angle, we start penetrating, and we actually get a citadel hit as we close in multiple citadel hits, because we're in that 45 to 90 degrees. We're almost exactly 90 degrees on here, and there we go, more citadels. Okay, we're going to die to torpedoes here, but who cares? So we're going to talk about ricochet angle. So 0 to 30 automatic ricochet, that's if as your shell hits the ship. 35 to 40, 45 to 90, we've done that. So overmatching, there is an overmatch mechanic where it doesn't matter what the ricochet angle is, but you have to have 14.3 times larger guns than the ship you're going to hit, which we can see there in the overmatch mechanics. The damage values, you get 100% gained from citadel hits, 33% damage for a regular hit. So if you penetrate and you've got a 10,000 damage dealing shell, you're only going to do 3,300 damage. So if you hit the bow of the stern or the midsection above the citadel, if you over penetrate, you do get a little something. You get 10% of the value of your shell's maximum hit points. So again, if you've got a 10,000 damage shell and you over penetrate, you're only going to do 1,000 damage. So over penetration values, right, to over penetrate a ship slash its superstructure, your superstructure you'll see it a lot with, your guns, this will happen if your guns are 12 times larger than the target, you will over penetrate them. So any ship with less than 38 millimeters of armor plating, every cruiser and almost every single battleship, this is excluding citadels, turrets and the magazine, the Yamato will just quite simply over penetrate it every single time. So then we're going to have a look at penetration multipliers. It's exactly what it is. It's a multiplication factor. So I have Shijard, who has a 4% multiplier. So what that means is my 460mm guns are now 479mm guns. So whereas previously I could overmatch a ship with 32mm of armor, such as the Iowa, I can now overmatch 34mm of armor, such as the Bismarck and the Tirpitz. So if they bow tank me, I can still overmatch their armor, I can go through it, and I can still cause citadels from the front. So most tier 7 battleships are around the 25 to 30mm mark, just so you know. And I'm just using the Yamato because it's got the biggest guns and it's easier to just keep everything the same. And that shows the overmatching mechanics. So we're going to hop along now and have a quick look at the armor values. So the average armor values, we're not going to bother talking about tier 3 crew destroyers, this whole thing, it doesn't matter. If you're in a battleship, you can overmatch it. If you're in a cruiser, you're going to overmatch it. So you're just going to fire HE. You're pretty much going to want to fire HE destroyers anyway, because without the British cruisers with their short fused hybrid rounds, you're just going to over penetrate a destroyer regardless of what you're using. So as you can see, the cruiser values go up to around 30mm for tier 7, and battleships actually go up to about 32. So it doesn't sound like much, but when you consider to over penetrate it, it's 1/12 of your shell. The difference is, you need to have much larger guns to over penetrate a cruiser than you do to actually penetrate it. So that's just a brief rundown, just to give you a sort of rough idea. So now we know these things, we can look at how exactly we go about getting our citadels. So if you're in close range, you want to be hitting the waterline. We're seen with the Atlanta, the closer you are, the flatter your trajectory, so the more chance you've got of penetrating that citadel. So at close range, you want to be hitting them right along the waterline. Then when we step out into medium range, so we're talking 8 kilometers or longer, you want to aim for the midsection of the ship, because there's a chance your shells will surpass where you're aiming, and that'll give us a bit of chance for plunging fire and still give us a chance to penetrate the citadel through the side of the ship. Now when you're at extreme ranges of your guns, as we've seen with the Atlanta, at the far range your shells really start to drop off. At this point you want to be aiming towards the base of the superstructure, because what you're looking for is plunging fire. If you hit the side of the ship, the angle that your shell's coming down, chances are you're going to ricochet. So by going through the superstructure and down into the top of the ship, this gives us the chance for plunging fire hits, which can still penetrate the citadel. Probably the most famous real life example of this is HMS Hood, when it's actually disputed whether it was the Bismarck or the Prince Eugen that actually destroyed the Hood. Obviously the extent of the wreckage nobody's ever going to know, but the shell came down through the top of the ship next to the gun into the magazine and caused it to detonate. So that should help you. So now we know all this, we can be a bit more proactive with our gameplay and try and accurately get more citadel hits, cause more damage in general, and not waste a bunch of rounds firing at ships that we're not going to be able to cause damage to. So we're going to have some examples of plunging fire here. So we take a shot at this cruiser. Our shells would normally overmatch it. We're at distance, our shells are coming down, they're dropping off, and one plonks its way straight through the deck into the citadel. Now, a long range shot at this Bayern, but he is angled quite heavily. So obviously his range to our dispersion is going to be much worse. And there we go. We got two over penetrations which went through his superstructure. A cruiser at medium range, so we fire more towards the mid-level of the ship, and over penetrations because he's a cruiser. We didn't hit the citadel. That's what's going to happen. Now we are close range. We're going to aim for the waterline. And we're going to follow these shells in. Okay, we only had one penetration and one over penetration. Second salvo away, and there we go, 2 citadels hits, and he's sunk. So yeah, obviously you're not going to get penetrate. You're not going to hit the citadel every single time. There is a bit of luck involved in that. Obviously that cruiser didn't really have a chance. It didn't matter. You saw low health. We could overpen, and it wouldn't actually affect us in any way, shape or form. So as we turn our attentions to the battleship, mid-range, we aim for the mid. Alright, okay, we get 1 penetrating hit. He was slightly angled, and that was mostly down to dispersion. So we're going to aim a bit closer to the waterline, only because he's coming towards us. And there we go, ricochets because he's angled. And we're aiming for the midsection of his ship. We should see it with these rounds going in and out. They fell massively short. Thank you very much, dispersion values. So at this angle, we are really going to struggle to penetrate him. So we raise our shots a little higher, and there we go. We do get a penetration. That was up into the superstructure and into the gun, which caused us very little damage. So he's angled, so we are just going to be wasting our time firing our shots at him. So we're going to switch target. Okay, not an ideal angle. Our shells are probably going to hit around the 35% mark, 35 degrees, but we score a penetrating shot and an over penetration through the top, whereas we were just ricocheting off the ship in front of us. So now he's turning. He's giving us that ideal, that 90 degree, 45 to 90 degree flat spot, which is ideal for citadel hits. So we take our time, we line up. He does start to angle away a bit, but we're still within that 90 to 45 to 90 range, and no citadels, but we do score some more penetrations. Obviously we're firing the guns in pairs here, and it's not going to matter. He is going to die regardless of what happens with this salvo, but we get a couple more we get 1 penetration. It's probably the first round that went through him that caused him to go down. But it's things that it's knowing, yes, there may be a target closer to you, but if they are if they're at an auto bounce angle or close to an auto bounce angle, you're just wasting your shots. It's pointless. So we're reasonably close range, so we're going to go for the waterline, and there we go, a citadel. He remains on course, so we do exactly the same thing, citadel again. So I hope you found this video informative. I hope it was worthwhile. So well, until next time, take care.